Yo, what up? Welcome back to a shorter video. I've decided I'm gonna try and go through on making some videos of setting up the new server. Since the last time you've seen it, I've done a couple of things. First, I got a pair of SATA extension cables and have been testing those in the drive bays, and I also 3D printed a dust cover for the cables to go through. Since normally it only takes 3.5-inch drives, I have to run the SATA cables through it. So this is an old prototype, but I filled in this one and this one so that it would be stronger coming out the printer. So the cables just come out through here, and yeah, it just goes in the slot where a drive would be. I'll put a picture of the actual one on the screen later. But today, we are going to be doing a couple of different things. First, we're going to be using HP's Service Pack Update Disk thing, which contains, well, it's a Service Pack 8.1 for these servers, which I found on archive.org. I'll put that in the description because HP wants you to buy it, and no. So we're going to be using that to set the RAID card in here to software mode, because one of the biggest problems I've had with my current server is inside of it I have a Dell Perk I believe it's an H710 or an H700. I'm not sure, but it's a hardware RAID card, and that has caused me many problems over the years because hardware RAID is kind of bad. So we can set the RAID controller in this thing to HBA mode, which is basically no RAID, just expose the disks directly. But we can't boot from that. So how are we going to handle boot device? Well, I already have that planned. You might have seen in a previous video, this server has an SD card slot in it. It has an internal SD card slot and USB stick slot. So we're going to be putting in this, if I can take it out of the adapter, is a 4 GB micro SD card that I got out of some crappy old Android phone and put in an adapter. All this SD card needs to do is be our boot device with the Linux kernel on it. Everything else can be from the internal drive. And finally, we're going to install Debian on here, which I will just be covering installing Debian, because then I'm going to install Proxmox on top of that, because the official Proxmox ISO doesn't actually let you do custom partitioning. So you have to, the advice I've seen on the forum is install Debian first, then install Proxmox on top of that. Kind of annoying, but it gets the job done. Anyway, let's get started. This USB stick contains the HP Service Pack utility made with their official USB key tool. So let's plug it in and get it booted up. Oh, I say booted up, but this is going to take a very long time to boot and post, because that's just how servers work. So we'll be back once this boots up. One thing I will note is I updated the firmware on the controller to version 8.0 instead of 4.22. That apparently needs some kind of work. Or that apparently needs to be installed for HBA mode. But I'm just going to get back to booting, so 1 second. Okay, so assuming you can hear me over this thing, the first thing we have to do is go to HPE Smart Storage Administrator. We gotta clear out the entire configuration for the RAID controller, or else it won't let us set it to HBA mode. Also, this entire thing is just a fucking web page. It runs in Firefox. You can see right there, it says JavaScript void whatever. Let me zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah, oh, well, it did. So this entire thing is just an embedded Linux running Firefox. Anyway, all you have to do is click the Smart Away controller, configure, clear configuration, clear configuration. Okay, configuration cleared. Now, close out of this. And now we're back to this screen. Now, here's why I wanted to boot into this, because it already comes with the package. We have to press Control Alt D B X, and it pulls up a bash prompt. Let me show you. There's the bash prompt. We could type uname-a. And it's frickin', it says it's Smart Start, but this is not a Smart Start disk. I just think that's hilarious. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to type a command. Also, if I show you the bottom, you could see Mozilla Firefox. That's fucking amazing. Anyway, we need to type a command. For my YouTube video, I saw the command we have to type is HP SSACLI space controller space slot equals 0 modify and then HBA mode equals on forced. This should switch the controller into HBA mode, which gives us no hardware RAID whatsoever. I'm gonna go verify that that's all I have to do in the guide. Give me a second. So this should be all we have to do now. So now we can just power it off. Power off. Maybe. Unless it doesn't listen to power off. I don't think it does. Okay, let's close out of this and turn it off. So, shut down. Oh, I need to zoom out again. Okay. Please wait, preparing to power off. Okay. It's off now. So I could take out the HP service disk USB. I'll put a link to this in the description. This also contains the newest firmware update. If your P420i SmartAway controller is on the newest firmware, switching it to HBA mode won't work, so you need to update it. So now the next step is we're gonna install our boot device. So we're gonna take my keyboard off the top here. I'm gonna move these drives because they are partially obscuring the lid. And then we can just pull back the latch and lift off the lid. You can see right there is the SD card slot. And so I have my 4GB SD card right here. So in theory, it should just be you take the SD card. I'm a little scared. I don't want to touch that capacitor and electrocute myself. So you take the SD card and you kind of like, oh, is it in there? It's not a spring-loaded slot, is it? I don't think so. I'm gonna say it's in there. I think it's in there. Why does that look partially damaged? I'm gonna go check the slot. Give me a second. Okay, I double checked it. I guess that's just how far it goes in a slot. So, then we can put the lid back on, which is, this is going in on, backwards. Hang on. Okay. There. We are now set back up, and we have our RAID controller running in HBA mode, so there is no smart array RAID 0 nonsense going on. Now, the next thing we gotta do involves this USB stick. This is Debian Trixie because Proxmox's installer doesn't support custom partitioning, but we need to boot from that SD card. So we're going to install regular Debian and set it up to boot from the SD card. But I think we also need to change a BIOS setting. So I'm gonna get booted into the BIOS, and I will be right back once we get into the BIOS. Okay, this is the BIOS for this. This is what I was talking about, where it's HP slot BIOS, because this isn't a Ward or AMI or Phoenix BIOS setup. This is just straight up copyright Hewlett-Packard. Anyway, in here, there's apparently an option for USB boot support. Yeah. Yeah. Right there. So in removable flash media boot sequence support, we can set internal SD card first. And that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna set it to be internal SD card first. And that should be it. Let me check the boot controller order. Oh no, that's just a smart array and then the Intel thingamadoohickey. Wait, that lists floppy drives? This thing has a floppy drive? I don't believe that for a second. F10 to exit, yes. Next, we're going to plug in our Debian. Now we have to boot from the Debian USB. So that's gonna take a very long time, so we'll come back when this is booted into Debian's installer. Alright, here is the Debian installer. Let me zoom in a little bit. So, we have to install Debian first, then install Proxmox afterwards. But I'm not going to go over installing Proxmox on this. There's a good guide on this on the official Proxmox wiki that I can link to in the video description. So, if you want to install Proxmox on top of Debian, you can read that yourself. But anyway, so we're going to pick English, United States, American English. It'll find my USB stick. And now, I haven't tested this, so I don't know if the SD card is going to show up or not in the partitioner. I hope it does. Otherwise, my plans have been derailed, and I'm gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do about this. Starting up the partitioner. If the SD card doesn't show up here, I legitimately don't know what I'm gonna do, because I liked the concept of the SD card better because it's flat to the board. There's an internal USB port, but I feel like I could accidentally shear it off or something, which would be not good. Okay, so we're gonna pick manual. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, here are our SCSI devices. We have the, I believe that is the Western Digital Black, the other Seagate drive, the 2.5-inch Hitachi that's in there, but is there something else? There it is. HP ILO internal SD card. Oh yeah. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to delete all the partitions on the Hitachi. So delete. Why is that in use? Okay, we're back. I wiped the test hard drive we're using, and as you can see, it is now a blank 160 gigabyte Hitachi. So, first things first, we're gonna go to our SD card. Press enter. Create a new empty partition table on this device. Yes. Then we're gonna go here. We're going to create a new partition. 3.9 gigabytes. Primary. Mount point. Boot. Mount options. I don't need any of these. These are irrelevant to what I'm doing. Label, none. This will be, HP underscore boot. Bootable flag, on. Done setting up the partition. Then we go to our Hitachi. Create an empty partition table. Yes. We are going to make we're gonna start with, like, I don't know, 10 GB primary. Why are you getting louder? Stop getting louder. This is swap. Or it's supposed to be swap. Anyway, use as swap area. Done setting up the partition. Then we create one more partition with the rest of the space. Primary partition. Mount as / using fucking xt4 for an example configuration. Done setting up the partition. There, we've partitioned. Finish partitioning and write changes to disk. Yes, write changes to disks. Okay, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear me over this or not, but the Proxmox on Debian install guide says just install the SSH server and the standard system utilities. Nothing else. So that's the only thing we have ticked. So we're gonna press enter. And then it's gonna download all of the packages. And then it's going to install. This is gonna take a moment. There's one more step that's important for later. We'll come back to that when it's time. Yeah, okay. Okay, here's the last important bit where it's asking us where we want to install grub. We say yes, and then we pick the SD card. So we pick HP ILO internal SD card and press enter. So this installs the bootloader to the SD card so that the SD card can boot the OS that we have installed pretty much. And that should be all we need to install Debian on the fucking hairdryer. Okay, we're back after having Debian installed. As you can see, here's Debian. I can run fastfetch. There's fastfetch. There's our server specs and such. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. There we go. You can see our Matrox card, our 2 Xeons, our memory, and our network. If we type lsblk, you can see SDA is our boot drive, and SDB is our SD card. And that's about it for this part of getting the new server set up. One thing I will probably have to adjust is if you plug in drives like this one, they will get very, very, very hot. Or not hot, I guess. It'll just run the fans on this thing way more. And I don't need that like noise constantly. Yeah, that's pretty much the video. We'll have to see how much this audio is actually usable because of how loud everything gets. But thanks for watching. Check in at some point for maybe more server build stuff. See you later.